If your hair has become finer, flatter, or harder to style after 60, you may think age is entirely to blame. But sometimes, the real problem isn't how much hair you have. It's what you're doing with it every day. Small habits that seem completely harmless can quietly steal volume, weigh down your roots, and make fine or thinning hair look even thinner. You may be conditioning the wrong area, touching your hair more than you realize, choosing a color that makes it appear flatter, or even treating fine hair and thin hair as if they mean the same thing. And that matters, because the wrong approach can make you fight your hair instead of working with it. Today, I'm going to show you 5 common mistakes that can make mature hair look flatter and less full. And more importantly, the simple changes that can help your hair look lighter, fuller, healthier, and beautifully alive again. One of the biggest mistakes women make is assuming that fine hair and thin hair are the same thing. They're not. And understanding the difference can completely change the way you care for your hair. Fine hair describes the size of each individual strand. If a single strand feels soft, delicate, and almost weightless between your fingers, you likely have fine hair. But you can still have plenty of it. Thin hair, on the other hand, describes density. How many strands are actually growing across your scalp? You can have thicker individual strands and still have thinning hair if there simply aren't as many of them. Why does this matter after 60? Because these two hair types need different strategies. Fine, but dense hair usually benefits from lightweight products, gentle layering, and styling techniques that create lift without adding weight. Hair that is truly thinning needs more attention to coverage, shape, and strategic volume. So before buying another volumizing shampoo or asking your stylist for more layers, understand what you actually have. Once you stop treating every lack of volume as the same problem, you can finally choose a haircut, products, and styling routine that work with your hair instead of against it. When women notice more scalp showing or a ponytail becoming smaller, the first reaction is often to buy something: a thickening shampoo, a new serum, a supplement that promises stronger, fuller hair. But treating thinning hair before understanding why it's happening can waste both time and money. Hair density can change for many different reasons. Genetics may play a role, especially after menopause. Hormonal changes, certain medications, nutritional deficiencies, thyroid issues, autoimmune conditions, and periods of significant stress can also contribute to increased shedding or reduced density. And because the causes are different, the solutions may be different too. That's why noticeable or relatively sudden thinning deserves more than guesswork. If your hair has recently started shedding more than usual, your part is becoming wider, or your scalp is increasingly visible, consider speaking with your doctor or dermatologist. Once you understand what may be happening, you can make much smarter decisions about what comes next. Sometimes the answer may involve medical treatment. Other times, it may be a better haircut, strategic styling, or techniques that create fuller-looking coverage. The goal isn't to try everything, it's to stop guessing and start giving your hair what it actually needs. Here's a mistake that has nothing to do with your haircut, yet it can dramatically change how thick your hair appears: wearing one completely flat, solid color. When fine or thinning hair is all one uniform shade, especially a very dark or opaque color, the hair can lose visual depth. Light hits the surface almost evenly, so individual sections blend together. The result can be hair that looks flatter and less dimensional than it actually is. The solution isn't necessarily a dramatic new color, it's dimension. A few strategically placed highlights, soft lowlights, babby lights, or subtle tonal variations can create areas of light and shadow throughout the hair. That contrast gives the eye more to see. Suddenly, the hair appears to have more movement, texture, separation, and fullness. This can be especially beautiful on gray, silver, and white hair after 60. Instead of covering every silver strand with one heavy color, consider working with your natural gray. Soft lowlights can add depth underneath, while delicate, brighter pieces around the face can bring light and movement without making the overall look feel overly processed. And you don't need harsh stripes or high-maintenance color to achieve the effect. The most elegant result is often subtle enough that people notice your hair looks better without immediately noticing why. Think of it as creating dimension rather than simply changing color. Talk with your colorist about techniques that blend naturally with your existing shade and grow out softly. The goal should be gentle contrast, not dramatic transformation. For fine or thinning hair, sometimes the illusion of fullness begins before you even pick up a round brush. A little light, a little shadow, and the right placement can make the entire hairstyle appear softer, richer, and noticeably fuller. This may sound almost too simple to matter, but if you have fine or thinning hair, constantly touching it can quietly destroy the volume you worked so hard to create. Think about what happens after you style your hair in the morning. Your roots are lifted, the shape feels fresh, and everything looks beautifully full. Then, throughout the day, you tuck your hair behind your ears. You smooth the top with your hands. You push it away from your face, or run your fingers through it, without even realizing it. Every time you do that, natural oils, moisture, and residue from your hands can transfer onto your hair. Fine strands are especially sensitive to this extra weight. Gradually, the roots begin to collapse, sections start sticking together, and that airy fullness disappears. By afternoon, clean hair can suddenly look flatter or even slightly greasy. Frequent touching may also create unnecessary friction on delicate strands, increasing the chance of breakage over time. So once your hair is styled, try to leave it alone. Use a lightweight, flexible hairspray to help maintain the shape without making your hair stiff. If you need to refresh your volume later, reach for a small comb or hair pick instead of repeatedly using your fingers. Sometimes fuller-looking hair doesn't require adding another product. It simply requires touching it less. Conditioner is essential for keeping mature hair soft, smooth, and manageable. But if your hair is fine or thinning, where you apply it can make the difference between beautiful volume and completely flat roots. One of the most common mistakes is spreading conditioner from the scalp all the way to the ends. The problem is that your roots usually don't need the same amount of moisture as the older, more fragile lengths of your hair. When rich conditioner coats the root area, fine strands can become heavy very quickly. Your crown loses lift, your style struggles to hold, and freshly washed hair may look flat much sooner than expected. Instead, concentrate your conditioner from the mid-lengths down to the ends. That's where mature hair typically needs softness and moisture most. Use only enough product to lightly coat the strands, work it through gently, and rinse thoroughly. The same principle applies to leave-in conditioners and moisturizing treatments. Unless a product is specifically designed for the scalp, keep heavier formulas away from the crown. You don't have to choose between healthy-looking hair and volume. The secret is balance. Give the ends the moisture they need while keeping the roots light, clean, and free enough to lift. Sometimes one small change in the shower can make your entire hairstyle look noticeably fuller. Fine or thinning hair after 60 doesn't mean you have to accept flat, lifeless hair or spend your mornings fighting for volume that disappears by lunchtime. Very often, the biggest difference comes from understanding your hair better and changing a few small habits. Know whether your hair is truly thinning or simply fine. Don't start treating hair loss until you understand what may be causing it. Use subtle color dimension to create depth, instead of relying on one flat shade. Once you've styled your hair, resist the urge to keep touching and rearranging it. And when you condition, give moisture to the lengths and ends, while allowing your roots to stay light enough to lift. None of these changes are dramatic, but together, they can completely change the way your hair looks, moves, and feels. And remember, beautiful hair after 60 isn't about trying to recreate the hair you had at 25. It's about understanding the hair you have today and helping it look its healthiest, fullest, and most flattering. Work with your hair instead of constantly fighting it. Because sometimes, the secret to fuller-looking hair isn't doing more. It's finally knowing what to do differently.